What's up, amigos? Commander Jaime here today. Today I'm going to show off the Millista Loop that we keep hearing in Premium. So this is a deck out type of loop where your opponent literally decks out and they cannot interrupt the loop once it's started. And so there's been a lot of talk within the community, but not a lot of more awareness. And I think some people keep trying to spread the word, but this is another attempt to actually make a video about it and actually spread the word and also see the seriousness of this loop. So let's get right into it. So with the combo setup that you want to accomplish as the Millista player, you need at least one card in soul. It can be any last card in deck. That's why it's like randomized as a wild card. Then you want to make sure you have a Wedo that's binded currently, and also 2 Wedos in the drop and 1 Darling in the drop. And then finally for your hand, 1 Murtoa, a Darling, and then 2 duels Euro. So with that, you can start the loop starting with the Euro first. So whenever it's placed, you can bottom deck a card. We're going to bottom deck the Wedo first, and so this will go here. And because we do have a binded copy, you can Soul Blast 1 to draw a card. This is where you still draw into the next card, and the last card you left is now out of deck at this point. The second Euro now, you can place it, do the same thing, but however, choose Darling this time. Since Darling is not in the bind zone, a copy of it, you do not do the Soul Blast 1 to draw. So now your deck's like this. Then finally, you can call the Darling that's in your hand to be able to use the skill, go into Soul, bounce to duel, or duels with the same name, which are the 2 Euros. So now, as you can see, it looks like it almost like nothing really happened. But this is where the magic happens. We have Murtoa, and Murtoa is Soul Blast 1, Soul Blast the Darling that you just put into Soul, draw a card and immediately call, which is the Wedo that you're going to call, and your opponent will now have to draw and call something as well. The auto abilities also cannot activate from this call as well. So there is nothing to be able to like unplace, counter blast, kill something, soul blast, kill something. Nothing to stop it at this point either. So now at first by itself it seems like, okay, so how can you re-loop this? And that's why a card like Wedo can now go into Soul, bounce Murtoa, and look, you can see that Murtoa, the 2 Euros, but the 1 card that was in your deck is the only thing different. But of course, with the drop zone setup and your deck size still being 1, you can just redo the same thing that you just did. Bottom deck the other Wedo, skill, Soul Blast 1, draw a card. Guess what? You got Darling back now. So then your second Euro, bottom deck the other Darling that's now in drop, back into the bottom deck. You do not draw because there's no copy and bind. Then you call the Darling into Soul, bounce, look familiar? Call Murtoa, Soul Blast 1, draw and call, Wedo, they draw and call, reset into Soul, bounce back. Boom. Look familiar? Alright, I'll do it one more time without saying much so you can get the gist of it too. There we go. Bottom deck first. So what's done? Draw a card. Second copy. Darling. Murtoa. Boom. Boom. So that's the loop. So Willista is also used to be able to mill to this condition where you can get to the 1 card left in deck. There's also a grade 4, I think Eve, that people are using as a turn 4 play as well. This can be done as soon as they ride up to grade 3, so that's what's kind of crazy too. And a lot of people are saying that the consistency is pretty up there now, about 70% supposedly. So it's becoming a much more viable, consistent deck that can actually compete. It's kind of degenerate because it's an infinite loop and you can't really do anything once the loop has started. And the deck itself, I'll put a deck log as well so you can get pretty much the standard type of build. There are some people that have tweaked it too as well, but just to give you a better idea of what it looks like as a whole too. So once it gets to that point, you can't do anything. That's the gist of it. There are certain decks, like Mega Colony does have a Gigadora, but as you can see with the 3 rearguard circles, you can still do the loop if they lock the column. They can slow it down because you call over cards. Essentially, this specifies open rearguard circle. Once they get to the Gridora Stride, it becomes more challenging because this card has to call from deck. Kind of slow down once they get into the Gridora Stride, but that's it. But if the Mega Colony player is going second and this person writes to grade 3 first, they can win. You know, there's nothing there. Lane Joker has some of the grade 2 support that can counterblast and call stuff as locked from the deck and potentially lock a combo piece, but nothing beyond that point. But they have to see the card, they have to have the counterblast, and it becomes a weird catch-22 situation where if you are trying to deny counterblast, to not give them the counterblast to be able to lock cards from your deck, but then you need to get cards out of the deck, but also like you kind of want to see your advantage, otherwise you're gonna not have enough cards in hand to do the proper plays and stuff. So that's pretty much it. If anybody knows how to get more around it, more than welcome. Comment down below in the comment section. I would definitely appreciate that too. And also share this, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, or just like YouTube or Discords. You know, the more awareness, honestly, I think this deck should get addressed. Nobody likes to be on the receiving end of an infinite loop that decks you out, or is just like you can't do anything to react to it or do something about it. It just kind of sucks. And in a negative way for the community growth. I know Bushiroad and even in Different Fights video I pointed out that Premium and Standard are increasing in attendance for tournaments, which is great. But I think having stuff like this can create fear within the community players where they would rather not play Premium, even more so on top of what other things that are reasons that they're not playing for that format. So it could skew really the growth in numbers at that point, which can, you know, long term have its, you know, downfall in a sense. But I really just wanted to get it out there. So thanks again, amigos. Till the next time. Bye.